Do old traumas from your past sometimes affect your relationships? Let me tell you my little example. I hope this gives you some insights into how you too can nurture both your relationships and emotional well being. Join me to explore how to recognize and manage triggers that can impact your relationships and discover the power of mindfulness and self awareness so you can grow closer to your partner instead of hurting each other with unprocessed anger. You would think that since I'm a therapist who went through extensive trauma training, worked with hundreds of people in my career, been through my own therapy, and so many other healing experiences, things would be easy for me, right? Well, wrong. The reason why I'm saying this is not to make you feel hopeless. It's rather to show you what the reality is and how you can navigate this seemingly treacherous path, the path of finding love, healing, and maintaining a healthy relationship. Believe me, you need this because romantic relationships will trigger you the most. They bring up these old wounds that you never knew existed. Otherwise, why would we all say, I feel like I'm going crazy or he drives me crazy when just a few weeks or months before you met him, you were single and feeling quite good about yourself? Relationships are challenging for sure. This is the reason why it's essential that you gain some tools for managing these difficult feelings, triggers, and frustrations. This is what we do at the very beginning of the Secure Love Creator program. We learn how to process our feelings, how to regulate our emotions. This gives you the basis for effective communication in relationships. So the goal of this isn't to eliminate the triggers to make everything run smoothly. It's really to recognize what's what so you don't chew up your partner when you are really angry at something that happened 20 years ago and you're not even aware of it. So let me tell you my recent story and how my old wounds affect my relationship. The fact is that, yes, I do occasionally get these old trauma triggers that make me feel literally like the world would be a better place without me. Occasionally, I feel like this. This feeling can occur when I have an argument with my husband. It's really unrelated to what happens in that argument. These can be some small squabbles. It's usually that we both feel unheard by the other. But most importantly, I realize that this belief that is paired with deep despair is really something old. Perhaps my parents were busy and my needs may have been too much for them at times. I don't know. Or it could be that they gave me to my grandma at 1 year old and that wounded the attachment with my parents. What does a 1 year old think or feel? I must be a burden, otherwise why would they give me away? Of course they had to do this due to circumstances they experienced. So when you feel like this, I suggest exploring how old the feeling is, where it comes from. Also, recognize that it is only a feeling. You can remind yourself that this feeling doesn't need to be your belief. I'm not worthless. Curious to hear more of my story? So it was Mother's Day and I missed my mother, but my husband said something that caused me to feel so disconnected. We were going to visit his mother and for a moment I thought my mom isn't here. There was this fantasy thinking that if she was here, she would understand and love me. Then I thought more about it and realized that there were times when my mother didn't understand me. She loved me but didn't understand me all the time. So I was able to sit with this feeling and just own it. I'm just feeling like this. There was nothing that someone could do. In other words, nobody really did anything to make me feel so disconnected. I know I have a supportive husband, family, friends. It's important to reflect on reality. I can't expect much more from anyone in this world in my personal life. If there is something, I voice it. Important thing to remember is that everything can be okay and I can still feel like this. This acceptance will help you feel better. It's okay. You don't have to be okay all the time. You don't have to have a valid reasons for not being okay. It's usually old stuff, old wounds being triggered in a romantic relationship. This is me, the therapist who helps other people. So yeah, I can help myself. What about the old me? If this was me some time ago, things would be different. I would find a way to blame others for my pain. I actually don't even remember what my husband said. It was perhaps annoying or neutral, but if I didn't know how to process my feelings, I would definitely get into big argument with him. Whatever he said wasn't so painful, although it triggered me. So how did this affect my relationship with my husband? When I share all this with my husband, he can take care of me by reassuring me that I'm worthy, that I matter, instead of being defensive and being triggered himself. Side note, my attacks would definitely trigger his potential wounds because this is how we operate in relationships. Instead, this brought us closer together. This further helped me heal even more. Knowing how wounded and imperfect I am, sharing that with my husband made me feel that I'm accepted as I am. I'm lovable in spite of all these imperfections. This is how we heal in relationships and acquire secure attachment. So obviously, I'm so cool, right? Just kidding. I'm just as cool as you. We all have that ability to be what we mindfulness-based therapists call insightful, mindful, observant. Mindfulness in this case is my ability to observe my feelings with a critical eye instead of being overtaken by my emotions and allow dissociation responses such as fight, flight, freeze, and fawn to take over me. When I was a little girl, I didn't have the resources to be mindful. I had to dissociate to adjust to whatever was going on. Now I do have resources. I can pause and process my feelings. This is exactly what we help women in my program. First, we teach them how to do this. And then when they start dating, we again help them process their feelings when something concrete is happening, like he's not calling or he said this and that. You know how it goes. This helps us create a perfect message of what we want to say. I teach women to communicate from the place of self-love instead of resentment. This self-love can occur when you process your feelings, when you get to know yourself and what triggers you. If I didn't process my feelings, I would communicate to my husband with resentment and things would escalate to deeper conflict. But because I processed my feelings, I was able to communicate and share deeper parts of myself, showing understanding and space for honoring my feelings. This depression lasted a couple of days. I shared it with some of my friends too. It was so nice to see that there was space for me to share my feelings. I again realized how wonderful friends and family I have. I frankly don't think I know anyone who doesn't have some of these moments. I just want you to know that you're not alone in this. So, what's important to remember? If I can give you one thing to take home that will help you is this. Take time to process your feelings. This allows you to heal. It enables your inner younger wounded parts to feel seen, understood. This also allows you to see what's what. Is this my shit or is he really a jerk? This is how you will have clear information on what you actually want to communicate to your partner. You will find those nuances that your younger parts share with you. It will enrich your relationship because you allow your partner to see deeper sides of you. You also gain insights into your boundaries. You don't just create these strict resentment-based boundaries, but instead they come from this self-love and respect place. When you communicate like this, you can create a profound connection with your partner. If you don't allow yourself to process your feelings, you will wind up communicating impulsively and say something you don't really mean. When we don't acknowledge and heal our pain, we hurt others. We call it shooting from the hip, saying things that are based on our own perception and resentment. I know it can be very hard to do this, especially if you don't know how to. This is the reason why we don't do it and keep these wounds covered. We naturally dissociate, but being dissociated doesn't allow us to create emotional and social connections. This is why it's essential to work with someone and learn how to do this, how to process your feelings and communicate in a relationship to build a secure emotional bond. The difference between someone who doesn't know how to process their feelings and someone who does is that person who knows that these feelings are just feelings, beliefs, meanings that we created. We will not die from them. The person who is not used to processing feelings doesn't even realize what's going on inside. They are dissociated from these feelings and they struggle to experience joy and happiness too, especially in relationships. Are you ready to finally heal and communicate in the ways that build positive connections with relationship-ready men? I'm looking for only 3 women ready to change this in the next 3 weeks. Let's talk. Follow the link below to get on my calendar.